is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path. Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path.
First reading, a reading from the prophet Hosea, chapter 6, verses 1 to 6. Come, let us return to the Lord. It is He who has rent, but He will heal us. He has struck us, but He will bind our wounds. He will revive us after 2 days. On the 3rd day He will raise us up to live in His presence. Let us strive to know the Lord, as certain as the dawn is His coming, and His judgment shines forth like the light of the day. He will come to us like the rain, like spring rain that waters the earth. What can I do with you, Ephraim? What can I do with you, Judah? Your piety is like a morning cloud, like the dew that early passes away. For this reason I smote them through the prophets. I slew them by the words of my mouth. For it is love that I desire, not sacrifice, and knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. The word of the Lord.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Saint Luke. Jesus addressed this parable to those who were convinced of their own righteousness and despised everyone else. 2 people went up to the temple area to pray. One was a Pharisee, and the other was a tax collector. The Pharisee took up his position and spoke this prayer to himself: "O God, I thank you that I am not like the rest of humanity, greedy, dishonest, adulterous, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week, and I pay tithes on my whole income." But the tax collector stood off at a distance, and would not even raise his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast and prayed, "O God, be merciful to me, a sinner." I tell you, the latter went home justified, not the former. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, and the one who humbles himself will be exalted. The Gospel of the Lord.
As sinners who strive our level best to become saints, on this process we have a big challenge, or rather we have a big temptation in order to denounce sin and not to justify the sin in our life. Our common experience in our day-to-day life is that when we sin, when we have a sin that we do continuously, we tend to justify that sin, or so to say, we make it a normal thing that happens in our daily routine. And we tell ourselves, it's okay, I have struggled so much, I have tried my level best to come out of this sin, I have made my confession, but I am unable. So therefore, sometimes people stop confessing those sins because they have tried their level best from a human point of view. And after that, they don't want to go that step beyond their human abilities to tackle and to ask for God's grace. And so we justify certain sins in our life, or we make it the new normal because many people do it and people are not bothered about doing it, so why shouldn't I? So therefore, we also have in our lives those sins that we have justified, that we tell ourselves, it's okay, you are also a human being, it's okay for you to fall, it's okay for you to do this sin because you do something other than that. You go to church, you sacrifice your money, and you are so good to people, so doing this particular sin, we say it's okay. And very often in our lives also we have sins that we have justified. But what God expects of us is to have this desire to make ourselves free of all those sins that enslave us. And it is a taxing job for us to be conscious of all those little places where we need to be faithful to the Lord. And today in the gospel we hear 2 people came to pray and only one was justified. Only one was able to confess his entire sinful life and go home peacefully. And let us also ask God during this season of Lent to pour out our hearts before Him, to look for reconciliation, to look for peace, and also to look for inner healing, so that we will also at the end of this season of Lent will be resurrected with the one who can save us.
Sri Wachanayano.